Micah Parsons. Nick, you go first. So I'm starting to be open to the idea. We talked about this maybe a month ago, and I said you don't pay your quarterback top of the market to then reset. But when I see Dallas, I mean, Greg Rosenthal made the point, and he's right. Micah was the 2021 draft class. Derek Stingley was 2022 draft class, and he's now got an extension. When you have Jamar Chase was the other superstar not done. He's now done. Mm-hmm. When you have drug your feet to this extent, and when you have once again kind of sat out free agency, and when we're looking at the team like, probably need, wide receiver 2, a running back, 2 offensive linemen, might need another D tackle depending on the health of some of your guys, and the secondary's a big question mark. You don't have enough resources to recoup those things. And do I think, I know it's not really their history of how they do things, but teams that would make, like a team like Green Bay or Baltimore or maybe Sean Payton in Denver would give you more than the Tyreek Hill trade. Tyreek was a 1, a 3, a 4, a 5, and a 6 over 2 years.
That would be nice.
And, could you get 2 1s and a 4th or something for arguably the best defensive player in football? Khalil Mack went for 2 1s. Jalen Ramsey the first time around went for 2 1s. Like, that's kind of been the established precedent. And try to go younger elsewhere, cheaper elsewhere, and fill a bunch of holes. If I'm Dallas and I clearly don't want to pay him $40 million a year, or else this would have been done a while ago, it's something you have to deeply consider.
Yeah, I don't think the fact that it's not done is indicative of them wanting to trade him, right, or that they're not going to get this done. If anything,
are you saying that?
No, well, I'm saying that I think it would be. I think that if you're Jerry Jones and you're like, hey, those 3 championships that we won, that we still talk about, how did we build that team? Oh yeah, we traded Herschel Walker and got a, and I know you wouldn't get the Herschel Walker trade, but and got a bounty for it, and that's how we did it. It might be worthwhile to reconsider that again.
Well, that could be a possibility, but based off their track record, it doesn't seem like they're posturing to set up the biggest possible trade. It feels like, oh yeah, we'll probably sign him, but we'll sign him at the end of training camp at the highest possible value, as opposed to doing it now. The thing that they have to really think about, and we don't know how Micah is in the locker room. We don't know how he is in meeting rooms and what type of personality he brings to that element. But there's definitely been some friction with teammates. And when you sign a guy to a contract like this, especially with a rookie head coach, really it's any head coach, but it's more impactful with a rookie head coach, whatever personality traits he has, those things are magnified. And you have zero ability to do anything about it. He is completely emboldened to act however he wants, because you can find him, it doesn't matter. And it also tells the team that that's what you believe in. So as long as he's good in the locker room, and you always want to play not just your best players, but your best people, because you can say, we're about this, we're about that, we believe in these things. What you believe in is what you pay. So they need to really look at that and say, okay, do we want the whole package? Is the whole package what we believe in moving forward? Because you can't separate just what's on the field from all the other stuff that.
Yeah, that's a tough one too, because you have different coaching now. So this is what we do. Who's saying the we? The brand new head coach, or or Jerry Jones? Who's the actual we in this situation? And is the head coach there to instill the culture and the belief that he thinks that it takes to be winning, or is it the Dallas Cowboys culture, right? The soul of the Dallas Cowboys, because the soul of the Dallas Cowboys hasn't won in 30 years. So the reality is this is such a messier situation than it ever needed to be, and it's because the original sin continues to be Dak Prescott. When you're paying Dak Prescott the amount of money that you're paying him, all of these other decisions become increasingly more complicated and difficult, because you need to be able to build a better team. But now you're overpaying for a quarterback who's good. He's not bad. He's not trash, but he's closer to the level of these other quarterbacks who we see get paid 35, 45, etc. And yet he's being paid like he's literally better than Patrick Mahomes. That is the problem. And so now when you have a contract like a Micah, you're just like, well, what do we do here? We need significantly better talent. and we can't afford it, and we don't make the necessary moves. And then if you're going to try to draft some of these guys, you don't have the coaching staff and the team in place to even develop these guys at this point. So it's just like, I don't know what the actual direction or intention even is. What is this team even looking to be? Do they even know? And it's why I actually really like Nick's take months ago at this point, where he was like, this should be a defensive forward team. Like, that's what this team should really be. They should double, triple down on defense. But you don't do that by them paying all the money that you just paid to Dak and maybe even CD at that point. Obviously, you're going to still have to pay these guys, and you could probably still argue that you would still pay CD big money, but you would still then want to save the money on Dak. And again, if you're going to be a defensive forward team, then you either tell Dak, take it or leave it, man. Again, if you want to go play for the Carolina Panthers or something, you want to go take a chance with the New York Giants? Fine. You go have fun with that clown show of an organization. Like, be my guest. And not to mention, you go do that. All of that goodwill and love and praise that you got from Dallas, and which will then continue to help you earn income when you're retired and all of that. You do burn a lot of that. You do start to become a little bit more of a neutral or even negative persona within the Dallas Cowboys fan base if you now start to play for like a New York Giants or something. So it's like, again, be my guest, but it's like, heck, even Josh Allen is taking somewhat team-friendly deals. And we know Patrick Mahomes can easily get more money. He could renegotiate his contract every single year with the Kansas City Chiefs if he wanted to. And he obviously does not. And so that to me, it continues to be the original sin with the Dallas Cowboys. Because even if they were to trade Micah, my question, though, is for what? Because then they're going to get draft picks. And now you have a quarterback who's aging in Dak Prescott. He only has so many more years under his belt. So like the Dallas Cowboys need to be win now. You just paid Dak a whole bunch of money. You have a first-year head coach who most people are not expecting to move mountains over here. So it just, again, all of their decisions end up being these like individual, isolated, kind of bizarre decisions rather than kind of a cohesive, like, we're going to do this, and because we do this, we're then going to do that. Everything just ends up being more and more disconnected. And we know that because look at how they even just decided to sign these contracts with CD, Micah, and Dak. These were all things that could have done in ways that would have saved them money. But because of them kept kicking the can down the road and then paying each player at the maximum at the time, like the maximum that was essentially being on offer, it's just bad business. It's just bad business. And now you have a team, as I sneeze on the truth, you have a team that's like part win now, part like, well, we kind of have to develop. Like, you don't typically have a win now team with a first-year head coach. You just don't. I mean, that's just typically not how things unfold. And you also typically don't pay three players, massive amounts of money when they're now essentially really going to be truly in their prime. Although question mark about Dak, especially coming off of injuries, and say, well, we're going to have to draft a couple other players, draft and develop them, and we're going to have to ease into this thing. You're going to ease into this thing when Dak's now like 34 years old, 35. Like it doesn't make sense. And Mike is now potentially missing, losing a step. And then there's a conversation about CD. He's not what he used to be. Like, everyone's on these different timelines. When you have these true seasoned veterans who are ready to kind of win now, again, you can just look at the Eagles, like, well, those are the guys that you're not necessarily paying a lot of money. And then you take some of the younger guys who you are willing to pay a lot of money because you're like, well, yeah, the runway is long for them, number one. And then when we draft, you kind of have this perfect balance between guys who, like, they don't maybe need to be a massive part of this team right now, but they can still be integrated. And if they really do pop from day one, then again, then we can utilize them. But it's not, we're not dependent on those guys to at least make the team competitive. Like the Cowboys are dependent on some of these things just to be competitive, just to be a kind of like a good team rather than already being a great team. And now they're looking to kind of push them over the edge. So you're just asking too much in too messy of a situation. And that's why it's like, my mind kind of goes through many explosions anytime we talk about the Dallas Cowboys, because it's like, it's such a mess that I'm just like, I don't even know where you can begin to actually make it. Again, if they had a truly experienced head coach right now, or a coach that we knew was like ready to pop, like a Ben Johnson, you would then say, okay, we know what decisions we need to make. We know how we want to support this offense, this head coach, this quarterback, etc., etc. But everything is just so messy in every aspect of this franchise that it's kind of like there's so many fires. Where do you even begin to put them out? You know, what type of issues, what mistakes did you make that you need to now fix? That's the other thing that I'm glad I just came to that point too, because that's the other point. Every other team that's at least well run, when they make mistakes, they acknowledge them and try to change them. The Philadelphia Eagles hired bad coordinators. They said, we're got to move on from these coordinators. They fired them and changed it. They realized, you know what? This draft pick wasn't a good draft pick. We're moving on, or we're going to eat this contract. We're going to draft here. Like, they acknowledge the mistakes. They acknowledge the issues that they have, and then they then go change them. They then go and try to, you know, make a better decision moving forward. The Cowboys don't do that. They never acknowledge. Do you think Jerry Jones like ever acknowledges that this was a mistake, this was a bad hire, this was a bad draft pick, this was a bad free agency acquisition? Like, he never does that, ever. And so you're never actually like rectifying the decision. I mean, think about what he even said last year, and especially from the season before into this last season. It's like, we're all good, we're all perfect, you know? It's just, you know, we just got to be a little bit better. And it's like, no, acknowledge that you came up short and why, and then figure out the why. And in terms of figuring out how do you turn that why into a more actionable conclusion that you can then take action to then improve and grow. But they don't do that. And that's how you see the decisions that they constantly make. You don't go anywhere. And it can't even be argued against, because where have the Dallas Cowboys gone? We don't even have to say the last 30 years. Let's just say since Dak Prescott. What have they done that legitimately put themselves in a position to truly win? And I'm just not going to entertain the 12-win seasons, because it's just nonsense. It's not about having 12 wins in a regular season. It's nonsense. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Dallas Cowboys? Do you think they should trade Micah? Where do you even begin, honestly, with this team? It just seems like they're just such a mess. What do you do, honestly? Like, what do you honestly do? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.